Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching
You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy,
fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
I knew this movie was going to be good when I heard the bass drop for Kid Sensation's Back to Boom at the very beginning of this film. And then Bao Tran, you made it even more special because on the camera in the recording session, bottom left corner, May 3rd, 1993 was my 15th birthday. And on top of that, Yuri, I still have your action figure from 1986, even though you were the most hated guy of the decade. But today we're talking about Paper Tigers. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for speaking to me today.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having us.
My God, this movie was so much fun. It's a great throwback. It's a family martial arts film without being kiddie. Gentlemen, how did you guys come up with the story, and where did this all begin?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this has been a journey 10 years in the making. When I wrote the story, it was a lot of things were swirling around, just the things that I had felt about making films or making doing martial arts. I was starting to fall out of love with it, and so just the whole process of rediscovery was an interesting thing that I wanted to kind of put in the story for these characters who once were passionate about something and then fell out of love for many different reasons and rediscover it. And then also we shot this here in Seattle, and it was kind of a love letter to the martial arts history that we have here that's not often spoken of or heard about, because Bruce Lee, first landed in America here and opened up his school and got married and went to school here and all that stuff. So there's a lot of rich history of Bruce Lee and his shadow and his legacy here that we all feel living here. And that's something that we kind of want to pay tribute to, especially with this multi-racial cast of characters, because it reflects, that time when Bruce came in the 60s and started teaching non-Chinese. So it's all kind of like a whole hodgepodge of inspiration kind of coming together to make this film.
And then Yuji, on top of this, please, if it sounds like I'm saying Yuri, I have what's it called, Invisalign, so things a little slurred when it comes out of my mouth. So forgive me for that. But Yuji,
That's
you're
okay. I've been called worse.
You're a restaurateur. You live in Seattle yourself, so this is a perfect fit for you. I'm surprised people didn't sit there and go, "How come Dick's restaurant was in the background?" But you got enough of your own stuff in there, so it only makes sense.
Yeah. I think for us to shoot up here in Seattle was a no-brainer. I think the fact that we had all our community kind of stepping up and helping us out, and all the volunteers that came out to help the production. I don't know if we would have got that anywhere else. So for us, it was such a blessing to stay here and shoot in Seattle, the home of where Bruce Lee started the Kung Fu school, and there's some magic going on here. So I think for us, it was a good choice.
Yeah, the movie is fun. I wanted an extra 20 minutes, so I know it's good if I want more time with it. Bao, Kid Sensation was a staple in Seattle. He sold over 1 million records throughout his career. Sir Mix-a-Lot might have been a little too obvious, but what was it about Back to Boom in the opening that you needed that specific song?
It's interesting. Yeah, I think the whole story of that scene is obviously you have this VHS camcorder. So partly it was kind of a tribute to me growing up and learning how to make movies, just grabbing my dad's camcorder and making films in the backyard and just wilding out. So that's kind of the part of the vibe. But also, like, for me growing up here was a lot of b-boy battling. So I think even just martial arts Baymo is kind of the same as b-boy battling or ciphers or anything like that. So we wanted to kind of like be able to channel that hip hop personality or that history that we also have here in the Seattle, again, not very overlooked. So Kid Sensation just felt like the best vibe. It felt like it hit harder, and we love Mix-a-Lot. He's a little more kind of party bop, and then Kid Sensation had a little bit more of a harder vibe to it that we really appreciate. And it felt a little more underground, that suggested kind of the things that we were doing, with these kids running around fighting these underground fights secretively. And so it just kind of gave that swag at the end of the day. That was really nice.
Right. One thing you guys did that was great was that there was the aspect of mixed martial arts and traditional martial arts going back and forth. And there's an aspect, since we cover a lot of MMA, there's an aspect in MMA that's missing from the traditional martial arts, where there's that level of honor, there's that level of respect, there's that level of self-discipline. Even though there's a lot of self-discipline in MMA, it's not the same as controlling your emotions in the sense of traditional martial arts. How important was it to have that notion? Because we see fighters like Benson Henderson, one championship is notorious for having Muay Thai fights, BJJ, judo, and then MMA as well mixed in throughout their whole programming, considering it a full-blown martial arts show. So what was the significance of showing the differences and the unity between the two?
Yeah, so complicated question. So I'm going to tap into that. I'm sure Yuji has his own thoughts. I think for me, the martial arts, in terms of what I grew up and kind of trained in, it is kind of like a traditional, even if they were non-traditional methods, but at least we had certain ideas about honor or integrity, or just kind of like the things that, things that we all kind of value as human beings. For me, I appreciate MMA. I think they're amazing athletes, and I think they're all just incredible technicians, and all, I appreciate what they've done. There is kind of the performative aspect that's is a bit of a turn off to me, the weigh-ins, the shoving and all that stuff. And then even just recently kind of the slurs, kind of like going into racial slurs and stuff like that. So that to me is some of the show business elements, and maybe because we're in show business, so it feels a little too close to home. And it just feels like, it doesn't feel like that's the martial arts that I know and I grew up and love. So it's kind of that love-hate and kind of that relationship that we have, from traditional or modern martial arts, which is all good. At the end of the day, if it makes you stronger, healthier, happier, more self-confidence, more respectful about the world, and then do your thing. But if there are certain things that are not so good, and there are negative aspects of traditional martial arts as well, for sure, then we have to kind of check those. So that's, I think, what was interesting, kind of like put that all into this world, and you can kind of poke fun at it and just look at it from a comedy point of view, but also kind of like look at it and not be so not be so serious about either world.
Yeah, I do appreciate MMA. I think the fights are, God, incredible sometimes. But it's become like watching WWF or something. It's like Bao said, it becomes this big show, a hype show. And to me, I think I was trained in traditional Japanese style karate back in the 70s. And, I kind of relate to the whole dojo busting aspect of this film. But there's also a sense of respect that I think is one of the things that are missing nowadays. And, if I acted like some of these guys do in some of these MMA fights, my sensei would beat the crap out of me. So I think for me, I'm a traditional martial artist at heart. And so I really appreciate the respect factor and the honor factor of, doing that old school kind of martial arts.
And that's why I mentioned one championship out of Singapore, because they still have that traditional factor in there as a huge part of it. A little bit of the showmanship, but nowhere near the extent that we see in the United States. Ron's character is the one I identify with the most, because I'm the most injury prone from all my training of wrestling and judo and everything else. I stand up, my knees pop, I turn my neck, my head pops, everything's popping. The
Pop and lock.
What's that?
You're popping, locking.
Yeah, but not the right style. I'm popping and then locking and then going over to the chiropractor to get unlocked. That's the difference. Yeah. And this, again, the movie is very inherently Seattle, and not giving too much away, but there is a character that does go rogue in his training, and there's kind of this pull of, especially in Alan's character, needing to redeem himself after all these years. Can we expect, or hopefully expect, a sequel to this film? Because I want all the Blu-ray bonus features to come with it.
Love it. I'm loving all of it. I got nothing right now, but but I'm loving that people love the world, because I think that's on the day when we were shooting it, we just felt like it was really something special. So I think it was definitely something that we knew that was going to carry us over, and the audience was going to love and appreciate. So I'm definitely, it's on the radar. I kind of like, at the end of the day, it needs to come up with something that makes sense and is organic and is part of all that. I just take it all in gratitude that everyone just really loves the characters, and that's the testament to what the actors brought to the table.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of bloopers in the DVD and the Blu-ray. So
plenty.
Yeah, so be prepared for that. There was some really great improv moments with Matt and Ron in the film. So yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea Matt's real name was Matt because I've been calling him Master Ken for so long, and with everything else he's done that. And I remember it was about half a dozen years ago, he was in Las Vegas making fun of every specific martial art that was called out to him. Was there ever a temptation to have a kick to the groin scene, which he's so known for in his own stuff?
I don't know if there was you'd have to ask the action team on that we're working with him, but I mean, Matt obviously is a wonderful comic talent. I think it's like Andy Kaufman-esque, where it's like you don't really know where that character ends and where he is, but when he's actually playing a different character, you kind of start to see more of Matt. So it's super fun to kind of like be able to show this side of Matt as well as with Ron. I think it's just going to be really refreshing for the audience to kind of see this whole other comic ability for all of them, and yeah, it's gonna be part of the fun.
Yeah, for those of us that grew up with martial arts films, especially karate and ninja films in the 80s, the 70s was the kung fu films, and moving on to the way we are now, and then there's the resurgence of kung fu and ninja films these days. How significant is that? Is it because our generation grew up with them that now that we're adults and in middle-aged groups, even though both of you have way better hair than I do, kind of like not necessarily recapturing what we loved as kids, but presenting it to a whole new generation?
Yeah, I'm sure there's something a part of that. I think it's also maybe a indicator of kind of how we grew up and kind of reflecting our own childhoods and the type of movies and the entertainment, the hobbies that we had growing up. So maybe it's all coming full circle, like you say. But it's a type of like storytelling that, I always kind of like, I love, Spielberg and James Cameron, and just that type of kind of big movie storytelling is something that's, very, very inspiring to me, that I want to kind of like have that. So we go big or go home, right? So that type of storytelling, I think, is maybe kind of missing, especially in the indie world, especially. And I think maybe just because budget wise, it's just very difficult to pull off. But we definitely wanted to kind of like make a big movie and feel like it was like, you didn't feel like any of the scenes or feel like it was a small in any way. So that was our hope and dream, to kind of like reach for the stars on that.
Bao, you mentioned earlier on about the racial tensions escalating and how this was still a multiracial cast, and reflecting on back in the 70s or in the 60s, actually, when Bruce Lee came back to the United States as an adult. And then the racial tensions that were going on over there, and especially now with those rising against East Asians. Like, I'm also from continental Asia. My family's from the Middle East, and people forget that we're the same continent. But how important is it now to tell this story, especially with the interracial mix of the characters, when we see specific groups being attacked, especially from East Asia?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a bigger. We'll let the sociologists kind of answer that question. At the end of the day, we just wanted to tell stories that was honest to ourselves and our experience, and be able to have an audience that can relate to it. And to me, if we believe big things and small things, it'll grow into big things. So I think that's, at the end of the day, all that we could hope for as artists, to be able to do. Whether it can kind of change people's minds or not. At the end of the day, that's going to be up to them. If they can see some spark of humanity, hopefully, our work is done on that. But yeah, that's kind of it's just so terrible, the things that are going on, that, it's easy just to feel helpless. But for us, we just want to create art, make some beauty. If we can create a little bit of beauty in this world, I feel like our work is well done. And I think at the end of the day, we kind of have to believe in the beauty of simple things.
And now, Yuji, I know this is a Karate Kid question, and I know you get them all the time, but I do have to ask this, since I still have your action figure somewhere. If it's not here, my mom has it. And you have
so you like
right
this, right?
Oh yeah,
you like that?
Yeah. How does it feel to finally be redeemed 30 years later, 35 years later, going from the villain to now being an accepted part of the family?
Yeah, it was incredible. I was contacted by the folks at Cobra Kai. The producers contacted me, John, Josh, and Hayden. They all got in this conference call, and I'll never forget it. They were pitching. You gotta do this. Check this out. Blah, blah, blah. They were just on this roll, and I said, well, let me think about it. I think I need to have some redemption as chosen. So this is my take on it. So I sent them this 2-page I guess, character development thing for Chosen, because after 30 odd years, 35 years, I think it is, we hadn't seen him. So I thought, you know, there has to be some sort of redemption for this guy. So I bless those guys, man, because they were open to this concept, and they really wanted to make sure that Chosen had been brought back respectfully and brought into the fold, and had some, you know, development. So I was pleasantly pleased with the revision of the script.
Gentlemen, I know I'm running out of time. I could talk to you all day about not only this film, but everything else that's going on. I know Yuji has children. Bao, I don't know if you have kids, but this is a family film. What would you tell families that are looking for a movie come May 7th to either go to a theater if they can, or watch it on VOD? What can they get out of this as sitting together and doing so?
Well, yeah, I think first of all, it's all good. It's obviously given the way things are. So we are in theaters. We would love to have people gather in theaters and be able to see this as you're comfortable. But it is a crowd pleaser, and we worked really hard on the sound and the picture. So it's just really a lot of fun to be able to see this with a crowd. We also have streaming options, so you can rent us on VOD on the same day on May 7th. So at the end of the day, we just wanted you to be able to see it, share it, and talk about it. If you like it, you can talk about it. If you don't talk about it. But at the end of the day, just be able to share and come together around movies, because that's what we kind of set out to make, is that kind of have entertain as many people as we can and bring a lot of strangers together in the dark. That's at the end of the day is the power of movies.
Yeah, I think the overall theme of the film is about finding oneself, and it's about these, you know, the separation of these guys, and then they kind of seem lost, and you know, sometimes in life we lose this strong bond of friendship, and then we go about our lives, and it's never the same. But this film kind of helps these guys find themselves and finding that bond and brotherhood they once had. So to me, this film talks a lot about heart, and I think with everything that's going on right now, it's really a wonderful feel-good kind of film. So I think people would hopefully appreciate that theme.
Yuji Okumoto, Bao Tran, it's been a great pleasure. I wish I could have been in Seattle with you guys and we could have talked about this film all afternoon at a Mariners game, but unfortunately we got to do it via Zoom, and it's still fortunately because I got to talk to you. But Paper Tigers is out May 7th in theaters and VOD. I love the film. Congratulations on such a successful project.
Thank you
so much,
RC.
Arthur. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.